Yeah, man, wake up. It's the J.Soul morning show. And, we got to have a balance, Sometimes it gets, it don't really get ratchet. It hasn't really gotten ratchet. But, like sometimes the culture can be, there's a spectrum. But today we're on the other side of the spectrum with the clergy. And, we say clergy, we all people, we're all human beings. But this is a good friend of mine. Hey, look. Coach Mike James is in the building, y'all. 3D Value is in the building. Finally Wealthy is in the building, y'all.
J.Soul, what's good, man? What's good?
Thanks for coming on the J.Soul morning show. How are you?
Man, I'm amazing. I'm glad to be here, and good morning to all the fans as well. Glad to have the space to just chop it up.
Man, real quick, I gotta put the logo over there on you. Hold on, man. Let me just make sure we logoed right. You know what I'm saying? We tagged right. We doing complete work. We got to do complete work. We got Coach Mike J in the building on Floor 62 Radio, Floor 62 TV, Floor 62. I made a lot of changes, man. I gotta show you. But you've had a lot of changes since the last time we've talked.
That is correct. I want to say. It's been almost a year or two since I've been on the show, interview style.
Right. But I was also on your show when I was getting ready to do the acting for the play last year.
Yeah. And Arts in the Hearts at one point. I want to say I had you on my show.
Yep.
Jazz stage at one point.
Right. So y'all see, I did Arts in the Heart. I've been on the show, but now it's time to even, get people even more tuned in and give them a little bit more content. And, because the Bible says we have to remind each other of Christ daily.
Yeah.
People reminding us of a lot of other stuff,
A lot of stuff. I'm getting so many now with this political season. I'm like, how did you get my number? I don't know you.
Right. Are you? Can we count on your?
What?
Listen, man. Look, but at the same time, what do you think about voting and what's going on and the current climate of it?
Great question, man. I feel that I've never been more aware of the importance of voting at 40 than I have been my entire life.
Gotcha.
Going through school, we would hear maybe in a lesson your history teacher might mention it and talk about the sacrifices that were made. But when you're in middle school and you got everything, that your parents have made happen, you don't often think of the weight of the assignment a citizen has for voting. Yeah. But maybe the term woke is exactly what's happening in my life. I listen to different news outlets that actually focus on the Black community. Mm-hmm. And after listening to that content consecutively, man, I am full aware that there is an agenda to undo a lot of the freedoms that have happened in America. Every victory for I won't even say for the Black community, for humanity. Every victory has kind of had some type of bloodshed or war. And so freedom is really not free.
Ooh.
Many of us, we may never join the army. We may never pick up a weapon, but that vote is it can be a strategy. It can be arsenal. It can be a battlefield. And so I think the fact that there are those who have gone to great lengths to suppress the vote says a lot about the power of the vote.
Right.
If it didn't mean much, there wouldn't be such a huge feat towards voter suppression.
Yeah. I see it as it's like they're striving to just weaken the importance of it. Just let me show you how horrible Trump is. Yeah. Let me show you how horrible this Black woman is. Let me show you all these horrible things will make you like, well, should I vote for anybody?
Right. Watch.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people in that spectrum, And, and I told a friend of mine, I said, hey, look, now I've been there before, but you do have to exercise your right every single time.
Yeah.
We do need to be in the know of who's in charge, who's in position where. And we do, and we need to educate each other, not just, let me just go vote.
Right.
We need to, where the voting polls at, because if people just stop voting, they can be like, well, this don't work anyway. Let's just do whatever we want,
Right. You're so right.
So we don't ever need that to happen. So that's what I explained to him. He was just like, okay, yeah. So I said, look, just vote for who you think is the best candidate. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
that's where I was at with.
Another way of thinking about that is make a list of the issues that mean the most to you, as an educator. So for instance, I'm a music educator, and there are times where my music curriculum really does connect with other disciplines outside of music, like science, history. And speaking of history, spirituals, man, that's always been one of my favorite genres, or let's say a segment of music history. I love the backstory of spiritual. It's almost like I couldn't even get to Floor 62 until I logged in. I put my username, my email. I got access to information I didn't even know existed until I put in that username. So when we talk about spirituals, man, unless you really knew what the words meant to the song, you were oblivious at nighttime. There was no way you were going to end up north. There was no way you would know to follow the North Star if you didn't listen to the secret message in the song that said swing low, sweet chariot, or the light mine, I'm gonna let it shine. And so I say all that to say there are sects of people, SECTS, of people who don't want American history to be told in its totality. I think that's because whenever you control a person's information, you really can control their destiny. You can control. So it's not that we're trying, as Africans living in America, however people want to define themselves, we need to at least operate from a premise that says, hey, these things did happen. But to try to rewrite a whole narrative and say it never happened or make it seem like it was a good thing, that's a problem.
Right.
You got to start from truth. So for me, on the ballot is truth. We want to acknowledge that yes, America may have some pros to it as a country, but it also has some cons or some not so standout moments in which we should at least be able to talk about it. We should not have ban books that mention our not so clean past.
Right. And it's crazy. We did a readathon at Georgia State University where I was a technical director.
Okay. Where
they started, I want to ban the books. So let's do a readathon on the books that y'all want to ban.
Whoa, wow. Yeah.
So that's how the readathon actually started, and we're on our second annual. Next February will be the third time doing the 6-hour long global readathon.
Wow.
This past one that we did was we did the greatest of all time. Like, who has the greatest of all time book by a black author? So we went to the Gambia, we went to Cali, Colombia, and of course we went to Atlanta. And we also had a little kids debate, They did who got the best book by a black author. But not Buddy won. So there's like different books that I'm aware of now, like Ralph Ellison, Invisible Man, So I want to do a book club surrounding, and I will do a book club surrounding Ralph Ellison, Invisible Man.
I like that, man. I so want to stay abreast of that when you do it. I think what you're doing, the J.Soul show, Floor 62, especially when you're incorporating that kind of content, man, that's so relevant to the times that we're living in right now. And I'm being told, man, that depending on people's age group, you and I think we fall under the millennial category, and then
we definitely millennials, yeah.
We've got Gen Z.
Yeah.
And Gen Alpha, that's my daughter. She's in the Gen Alpha club. But long story short, there's an information gap. And so if those generations are turning on major news outlets, but they're not hearing the stuff that you just mentioned, that means we're going to take that limited knowledge to the polls. So I think one of our assignments as media, we want to make sure that we are putting out the information that has been cut off, because people who oftentimes have power, influence, and wealth, they also want to put their hands in media, because media is going to directly shape the mind.
They know how much influence it has, yeah.
Man, and our generations in particular, it's been shown historically that when we really show up to the polls, we revolutionize things. People that wasn't going to get in that office, they get in there when we really show out in record numbers and vote. And it's really important, like you said, that we get the right information so that when we get to the polls, we're aware of why we're there. Yeah. So shout out to you, man, for bringing spotlight to some of those authors who may not get as much shine because they wasn't on TikTok. You know what I'm saying? Or
Exactly. And we're going to talk about you being a new dad in a second.
Okay.
But I want to touch on, I think that really the message is the old system has been, let's lie to everybody, and just because they're not gonna find out.
Right.
Now it's like you lie to the American people, and then we can look on TikTok, like you said. Somebody gonna be like, "Oh, actually, they said this in 2013, or actually they signed this bill, or actually, they were saying this." But so the fact checking is so immediate now.
On the spot, right?
We have to figure out how to empower people with the truth instead of saying, let's lie to everybody to get what we want. And then after we get what we want, then we'll let them know, we was doing an experiment.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? But people need to know that our federal government does mandatory experiments on the people. You get what I'm saying? And what we have to do, we can't, that's not something to think about. There are conspiracy theorists that help us out a little bit. There are people on the inside a little bit. So we got to all get on the inside.
Yeah.
So, Floor 62 helps us get on the inside. There were people, when COVID happened, they were saying, man, I don't know, you think it's a real thing? I'm like, yes, it's a real thing. And it's still a real thing. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So, so we have typically not trusted the government when it came to medicines and experiments and all of it.
Right.
So we do have to do our proper research, and we have to be tuned in with people who are in the hospitals, at TSA, at different places where they're gonna get information.
An underground network, since we Harriet earlier. That was a network then. If Harriet was here today, she totally would have a TikTok. It might have at the bottom.
Right. No, she'd own a TikTok.
Right.
I think. Yeah. Yeah. Hey y'all, this is my TikTok. This is our network of information and entertainment and love and all of it.
And I like that you brought up that word, man, because I think it's important for us to understand who we are, but who we be as well. And we're more than entertainment. And unfortunately, sometimes that's the part of us that gets marketed, and we end up making other companies a lot of money because we're good at what we do.
Right.
We need to realize that we're more than entertainment, and that, there's real things, up for grabs out here. We gotta not be so entertained, but maybe edutain, add some education in there.
Man, for the listeners who are not aware, or I know we just jumped in, we jumped in today. Tell them just, give them like 3 highlights about yourself, things that you're proud of, and why you do what you do.
Okay. From a kid, I think I've always just been a kid that loves the moment. I love being in the moment. And whether that moment is at Copeland Elementary in Augusta, Georgia, running around the playground with friends, or at the moment is in high school band camp with J.Soul and hot, blistering heat of July, making
band camp.
Yeah, band camp, man. Having fun. I've always just been a person that really loves the moment, and I try to keep that kid alive. And I think there's a push for us to lose our kid and become adults. But I think when we keep our kid alive, that is adulting in some ways. Life is enough. I think some of the stuff that we rush to do, we rush to get grown, we should have slowed down and enjoyed the moment. And as adults, you realize that life is really just a series of moments. And the quality of your life is how well can you enjoy the moment of now, and not so overcome and stressed by the bills, what's going on politically, what's going on with your bank account. Like, life really is about, can you enjoy the moment? And I think kids kind of naturally do that. Adults, unfortunately, we teach kids out of living in the moment.
Yeah.
We're grown because we no longer live in the moment. But I think we should always be growing and not grown. So
okay, I feel you.
That's a lot right there. That kind of sums up, I think, who I am and what I'm about. So now what I do is 3D value is my way that I like to keep people abreast of who they are: spirit, soul, and body. That company, though, that vision, it actually came out of a very dark time in my life where I was not feeling good in my soul and in my body. I was going through a really tumultuous breakup, divorce. And it's interesting. It's almost as if out of a season of really like pain and trauma, I started trying to find ways to lift me up and help someone else. So I don't know how you explain that. I think God emerges in our life in ways that we don't think he would emerge, at times where we don't think he would emerge. But for me, he showed up for me in a big way because I was honestly reevaluating, okay, I know you've been with me, God, but I've never been through a divorce before. And I know how at least my home church looks at that, and maybe the people that I've grown up worshiping with. Divorce is almost like that black stain, and once you've done that, it's like people kind of look at you sideways. So man, I start questioning a lot of my own theological beliefs, like, well, who is the Jesus that I'm preaching about? If I don't believe he's going to be with me on the other side of a relationship that I chose to end.
Yeah.
And so, man, I really had to start learning that God's love is unconditional, and that although it's not his will for things that we care about to just fall apart, when we really read the scripture, though, God has this track record of being with people even in times of chaos or calamity, and he can actually give new meaning through things that break. We're all broken.
Yeah.
And so one quote I saw in my art teacher's room, it says, "Broken crayons still color." And that really stuck with me, man. And so I'm using 3D value right now as a platform to not only preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, but in particularly, I do like to major in on the emotional healing part, because life does happen. People do go through things. They do experience loss, not just death of a loved one, but the breakup can feel like death, and it can lead us to stages of grief. And just that right there, sometimes we're not even aware that grief is not just something that happens, but there is the transition that happens after a loved one dies. So people there's a quote, Sam Chan, one of my favorite authors, leadership consultants, he says, change happens in a moment. You get the call that your loved one just passed. That's change. But the transition internally, how you deal with that, how you process that is called transition, and it takes time. So change happens in a moment. Transition takes time. Change is external. Transition is internal.
till the music stop. Extra loaded over here.
So now, man, 3D Value is the platform that I use to preach the gospel. But when I say preach the gospel, I'm not just talking about the good news of Jesus. That good news of Jesus, it even goes to how we transition from calamity. And I'm not adding that. It's always been there. But I do think sometimes people are guilty of preaching or not preaching their biases because they don't know how to transition, because they've never heard that grief is broken down into stages. Sometimes those messages don't make it across the pulpit. I feel led to minister to people who actually may not even walk into a church door. And so a lot of times that's my motivation for what I do on social media. I realize that some people will never walk into the church, and I still want to make sure they get this download that God cares about their spirit, their soul, and their body.
That's true. And I agree with you, because that's what this platform is too. It's like there's a lot of people, like they're not going to go into a church. They had church hurt. Then, like you said, the media is so influential. A lot of times when you're watching television, people making fun of the church. People making, the pastor was stealing the money, or the congregation, or this little kid got touched inappropriately. Like you always hear that. So it's just like people like, so I need to go to church, But there's some people who like myself, God tells me, listen, you need to go to church, So he makes sure I'm there. And he makes sure when I'm there that I express myself with my music, with my testimonies, with my fellowship. And because my presence is a blessing when I go to, I'm in my community church at Mount Calvary,
Yeah.
Even when I was in LA, it's a blessing for me to be there,
Right.
And I gotta have compassion for people who I know who never show up, and I know that God is in their life too.
Yeah, man. So it's just beautiful to show up in the ways that God leads us, because we never know who He's leading us to and how they need Him to minister to them in the season that they find themselves in.
And I will say, if anybody listening to this, if you saying, man, God been telling me to go to church. Do it. Do it. Everything that you feel like God telling you to do, just do it. It might not make sense. Be like, why are you going to LA? I don't know. I be asking God to lead my steps, So it's just like, if I'm going that way, He want me to go that way. But it starts with me in the morning, having that conversation, being in tune, making sure I'm in line, making sure I got people in my life who remind me of Christ daily.
Yeah. Right. Say that, man. And I just feel led to throw this out there as well. I think sometimes we have historically framed people's perspective of church the wrong way. When we really look into scripture and what Jesus defines the church as, He actually doesn't mention a building. He mentions people. So He asks His group of disciples as they're sitting in the area we call Caesarea of Philippi. And the word niche, some people say niche, some people say niche, like I gotta find my niche. Well, in this particular region, there's actually little grooves called niches all around the rocks. And each of those niches is erected to some kind of deity. So it's interesting that in this place where there's a lot of idol worship going on, Jesus asked the disciples, who do men say that I am? So I don't think there's anything like coincidental. In a place where a lot of people are being worshiped, Jesus says, who are people saying that I am? And they go on the list. Some people say you're John the Baptist. Some people say you're one of the prophets. And then He says, now who do you say that I am? And Peter says, you are the Christ. Not a Christ, not another one of these gods carved out of stone. He says, no, you're the real deal. You're the only one that ever got to be fully God. You're the anointed Son of God. And then Jesus says, Peter, what you just said is so big that's what I'm building my church on. And in so many words, from that dialogue, we learn the real meaning of church is actually a called out group of people.
Yeah.
So it's not a building.
Right.
But why does the building in our culture have significance? Well, that should be the place where the called out group of people can come together and grow in discipleship. But also we should leave with the mindset of evangelism. So sometimes the word church gets thrown around so much, people think it's just a building. It's really not. The church, it should be any person that believes Jesus Christ is the Son of God. They believe in their heart that God raised him from the dead, and they confess with their mouth that he's their Lord. That's the church. You become God's living, moving body. So you're the church. If Jesus is your Lord and Savior, I'm the church. We're the moving building. And it's a good practice to show up with other people who believe that they're the church, and we grow together.
Yeah.
You know, that's just a different way of thinking about it.
It's the way of thinking about it, because why wouldn't God be organized?
Speak.
We're able to organize. Ants can organize. You think God wouldn't have a kingdom that's organized? That there wouldn't be tiers and hierarchies and, tests. Let's see, okay. Let's see how far you can get up the ladder. You know what I'm saying?
We're better.
Like we create stuff like that. Where we think we get it from, Right.
Yeah, we're better together. That's the real deal. That's the real message. We're better together. But maybe this is my ministry as well. Why don't more people come together since we're better together? And a lot of times it's that emotional baggage that we've never dealt with. Maybe there was inappropriate relationship between someone in leadership and laity. And that's a good reason to be like, you know what? I'm not going to that building. You know what I'm saying? But if we don't resolve the hurt that comes oftentimes from abuse, whether it be physical, verbal, sexual, a lot of times that could keep us from fulfilling our purpose or even realizing we have a purpose because of how a person may feel internally. Because we typically think about God, how people have treated us. So it's interesting. I don't really get to see the right concept of God unless someone has shown that love to me horizontally. I think wrong about God vertically. So that's why forgiveness is so crucial. Reconciliation is so crucial, because people can go through their whole life hearing songs about love, hearing sermons about love, but if they've not gotten closure and healing around something that happened to them, man, it can really mess with their concept of who God is.
Yeah. But and a lot of times it's not necessarily what happened to them; it's how they perceive what happened to them, or their the response mechanism. That they bring into their present and really into their future, because it still has that hold on them that they haven't accepted that it was God's will, even that it was something unfavorable or a really screwed up circumstance. Yeah, the narratives that we tell ourselves can impact how we move forward as well. Yeah. So that's something that we're gonna touch back on that, because that's such a big topic. You know what I'm saying? God is such a big topic. We're such a big topic, and there's paradigms to look at who we are and how we unify with other righteous people. I think Revelations 22 let us know that there's going to be righteous people. Let the righteous people be righteous. Let the wicked people be wicked. The wicked people they unify. They get together. Right. They in the building. The righteous people have to get together. We have to correct what we see is wrong. We do have to see something and say something. I think corruption happens when like the toilet, when it don't flush that good, so you gotta hold it. You need to you need to fix it, but you just got used to just holding it. Right. That's what a lot of churches and organizations are, we just done got used to the fact that it don't work. So we just, whatever workaround we can do, that's what's going on. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Right. So the solution, I feel like, is the righteous people have to unify. We have to have more conversations like this. Let people know it's okay to be righteous. I was having a conversation with my friend earlier. She was telling me about something going on at her job. And I said, okay, well, be positive. She was like, no, Thomas, no. Be positive gets a no. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
But I let her say what she was saying, and then afterward I said, now there's nothing wrong with being positive too, though.
Right.
And she just kind of started laughing. I said, when I told you to be positive, you said no. I said, sometimes you got to bring positivity into it, and then
because that's
look at
righteous.
it a little different. Yeah,
man. I think that's exactly who Jesus was. He brought the God perspective into situations. Yeah, and he stretched people's thinking, because the solution he brought a lot of times it razzled people's theological views. Like, should I heal a man on the Sabbath? Well, the Pharisees was like, you shouldn't be doing no work. If it's in work, you shouldn't be doing it. And then Jesus, he totally, messed with their psyche. He was like, so if your horse fell in a ditch on the Sabbath, you wouldn't get him out?
Right.
And the answer is he knew they would, because you can't work Monday through Friday if you don't get him out on this Saturday. You ain't going to be working.
Right.
So he's like, how much more, are people in the eyes of God to not heal someone? Why wouldn't that bring glory to God? That's not work, that's pleasure. Right. It's like, y'all say that the Sabbath that man is made for the Sabbath. He's like, no, the Sabbath is made for the man. So you're right, brother. A lot of times righteousness can manifest itself in the way we respond. And sometimes that's what makes an environment hostile at work, at church, at home. It's our response to what's happening.
Yeah, I say, look, the more you expect somebody to mess up, do wrong, whatever, it manifests. When you expect somebody to love and be with you and, do right, somehow that manifests itself too, Yeah,
people can feel what we expect or don't expect. They can feel it.
Yeah, you give people a chance to live into the way that you listen to them, If you listen to somebody like, men ain't this and men ain't that, or women ain't this or women ain't that, it's going to show up in your life. You're going to have a lot of people in your life that show up and they ain't this and they ain't that,
Yeah, you're right.
So
that's a good analogy too.
Yes.
That's a good example.
I want to end on this scripture because on the last 5 minutes I want to talk about, you're a new father and you're a new husband. So, I want to talk about that. But there's a scripture you're going to have to help me out. I think it's Matthew 6:25. First seek the kingdom of God. I might be, and it's righteousness and all things.
You're in the right chapter. That's right.
I'm in the right. It's 6 somewhere. It's 6 something.
6 and 33, I believe. But it may start around 25 and it ends on that 33. But you're right, man. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and all these things will be added.
First, right? It's right first. So we're gonna touch on that. Like that'll be our next conversation, man. You know what I'm saying?
I like it.
Because if Matthew wrote down that Jesus said, we got to seek the kingdom of God first, and we were just talking about how it ain't the building, it ain't the building fund, it ain't, you know what I'm saying? It's the people, it's the kingdom, God's kingdom. We may see a way to be humans again, with that paradigm. Man. Yeah.
Say that.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
But talk about being a new husband and being a new father, man. Tell them what the name of your daughter is and all of it.
Well, man, listen here. Everyone that's listening, let's just say God is bigger than we can ever imagine. And his grace is bigger too. What's funny is that what I'm in right now, the joy that I have, God saw that for me, even when I couldn't fathom it. Even when in the moment I was feeling dysfunctional, God had a picture of a Corin, a beautiful, choir director that I met when I moved back to my hometown. And I think that's even interesting, how God's plans can work for our life. What God's wanting to do can be right up under your nose and you just don't even have a clue. So I'm feeling all broken inside, and I moved back home. And the first church that I start playing at when I get back home, I had no idea that 6 or 7 years later that would blossom into a marriage. It's just weird. But it's not weird in a skeptical way. It's just like, wow, man, God, you good looking out. So beautifully, happily married to Corin Cofer James, and we have a beautiful daughter named Lauren Michelle. And man, she's 10 months. She's pulling up on everything. I think she'll be walking by her birthday, October, or definitely Thanksgiving. She's gonna be walking. She has said mommy. She says dada. You know. So Corin and I are still like, all right, are these just syllables she's developing, or is she like really saying you? Like. But anyhow, I don't care which one it is. It's just so beautiful, man. To check this out, to have not just a child, but I have secretly, J.Soul, always wanted a daughter. I don't even know if I've verbalized it though. So I feel like I'm literally living in this season where God has restored me. He's paid me back. He's given me the secret desires of my heart that I didn't even verbalize, but I have it. Okay. And it just makes me want to be like so grateful, man. I'm just so grateful. So I love the dad life. I didn't go to work this morning because on the way to daycare, she wasn't herself. It was like she was crying, but it's a different kind of cry, man. And I just couldn't leave her. So I had to turn back around. I had to make the calls that I had to make. But internally, I'm like, God, thank you for that. I'm in a position to look after a child and my daughter and do what's best for her and take her back home. You know, I'm grateful for my home, you know. Homelessness is on the rise. And so to just have a place where you can call home is beautiful. And to be able to be there for Lauren and take a day off and still be able to do the things you need to do, it's just a blessing. And so, man, I'm loving the husband life. I'm loving the dad life. I'm just blessed. Yeah. Listen, man, you know, I don't want to take up too much of your time. You know, we had a, I love having you on the show, man. It's we got so much in common, and I love how you and Corin came together to make a Lauren. You know. So before we go, like, what do you want to leave the people with, and tell them when you're gonna come back and stuff. Well, I'm gonna be back next month. How about that?
Okay, cool.
Next
I know
month.
it gets
next
hectic.
Week. Or next week, if J.Soul send me that link, we might be able to make this work again. But what do I want to leave with the people? My next sermon is going to be September 17th. I'm preaching at a church in Hepzibah. I think it's called Compass Church of Hepzibah. But my topic will be Tag You're It. And so the Lord has laid on my heart to speak to people who have been called to do a work for God, but perhaps maybe they're wrestling with a lot of fear, afraid to step forward, afraid to speak out. Maybe if you feel called to represent someone who's been wronged socially, maybe God's leading you to be an advocate in the political sphere. Whatever it is God's been laying on your heart, the text that I'm going to be preaching from, it highlights disciples locked in a room, but nobody locked them in, they locked themselves in because they're afraid of the Jews. They're the same Jews that were responsible for putting Jesus on that cross. And that's not an anti-Semitic statement, it's just facts that when Jesus challenged his own people theologically, instead of being like, man, you showed me something I didn't know, they were so arrogant that they was like, no, we got to shut his mouth. So my message to you today is, whatever God's called you to do, somebody wants to shut your mouth, but you cannot allow fear to keep you locked in places that God called you to walk out of. Things are getting crazy in our country, politically, in every sphere of influence for a reason, but this is the time for the church to come out of that hiding place, come out of come from behind locked doors, do what God called you to do. And keep in mind, J.Soul, when people try to kill you, kill your influence, kill your voice, just like they did Jesus, they did kill him. They did put him in a tomb. But on day 3, everything that society tried to do to stop him, he rose. And that's the answer. That's what I want to say to people. Nobody can really stop you when you're really doing a God thing. It can't be stopped. So what are we really afraid of? Fear is an illusion when you realize you can't be stopped.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah. Now that's a record I'm coming out with. I gotta get you back on some music. I gotta get you your hands on some keys. I gotta get you on some drums, because you still an amazing musician, and I gotta utilize some of that.
And I appreciate that. Man, I appreciate that. I'm down for the cause, man.
Okay, y'all heard it here, man. So look, be looking out, because. Yeah, man. Before I knew how to do anything on the keyboard, I was watching, I was looking over this brother's shoulder like, hold on, what was that? Okay, hold on. Ooh. Dang, you went to the minor right there? Like, that's crazy.
Good memories, man. Good memories.
Good memories, man. Good look. But hey, look, y'all. I've had my boy, Coach Mike J. I call him Lawrence, man. This is Lawrence.
Well, Lawrence.
But he's absolutely a pastor. He's actually absolutely a man of God. Thank you for being here on my show today, man, and we look forward to having you again.
Man, thank you for having me, and hope the rest of you guys have an amazing day. Have an amazing day.
All right, man. See you next time. Peace.
See you next time.
Wake up, man. Oh, shoot. We back. It's the J.Soul Morning Show. Wake up. I've got another guest for y'all, and y'all not gonna believe it. I don't know how I got on his schedule. I don't know how, we made this happen. He's very expensive, you know what I'm saying? He don't have that much time. He's produced records like Commas for Future, She Twerking. He done kept you on the dance floor. He's been on the radio, and he's a really good friend of mine, man. I like to introduce y'all and present to other people DJ Spinz. What it do?
What's happening?
My boys in the building. They going crazy. Spinz is in the building. This Spinz 808. Spinz, the Cashmere Collective, like the whole thing, man.
Yeah, man. All that. How y'all doing?
It's all good. Tell the listeners where you are today, man.
Man, I'm in Atlanta right now. This is the place I call home. So, I'm kicking it right now. You know what I'm saying? The sun's shining. It's about 75 degrees outside. It's a beautiful day.
Now, we could start where we are now. We could start these people from the beginning. Everybody knows that you're from Augusta, Georgia. You know what I'm saying? And then we've, I've interviewed my cousin Shay. He's from Augusta too. So there's a lot of little people don't really know what's going on, man. So tell these people a little bit about your music journey that they don't know from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna touch on a little bit of that, and then we're going into some personal reflections.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. Been doing music as long as I can remember. My grandma and my uncle owned a supper club, so that was kind of like, I guess you could say, the first piece of like knowing music.
What was the name of it?
Mr. J's Famous Dough.
Okay, yes. Where that's at?
Augusta, Georgia.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's where I was rooted. That's where I grew from. You know what I'm saying? That's why I had the pleasure of meeting, Soul, Blends. You know what I'm saying? Which I consider them family, like, because with doing music at such a young age, or taking an interest in what I would say is kind of like a smaller town, not necessarily a major city, but we had major things to come out of our city. But it just was, like, we didn't even have like a guitar center or anything like that. So, just building some camaraderie with people who had the same interests and who also, were gifted in their own ways. It's just like it was instrumental to my journey, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like, it goes on the other side of the coin too, because music is it's a congregational thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like you grow together through, the music. It's a ministry. So
definitely.
I started with in uncle and my grandma's club, just being there because I had to be there as a family business, and
Mm-hmm.
they're playing, you know, blues, you know what I'm saying, disco,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, all kind of stuff like that, soul, R&B. So that was like my first introduction to it. And the first thing I decided, I was like, okay, you know, I was leaving elementary school, and you know, people was, you know, interested in football, interested in
Mm-hmm.
basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I like sports and shit, but
True.
I was just playing like rec ball, and it was cool. But then by the time I got to like 7th grade, I realized I was not gonna be that tall. So like I was like, all right, this athlete, you know, it's cool, but let me just kind of focus on the music. And nobody
Oh.
around me right now is doing that. So this, you know, this what I'm a stick to. And then that kind of, you know, kicked off my journey to like wanting to be a DJ. And I had already made good friends with the DJ at my grandma's spot. But obviously, you know, he was playing more of the classics. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm a lot more grateful of that now than I was back then.
It got you
Because
familiar. Okay, got you.
yeah, it just kind of like, you know, especially when let's just say a lot of people might have just grew up with whatever music was in their time, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying, and didn't have the experience from the older generation. So I feel like it just kind of like, you know, seasoned me a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. It gives you that old soul when you can hear that old music and it's playing, and then it's like entertainment business. So you're seeing entrepreneurship, you're seeing all of those things. And in seventh
Yeah,
grade, you was like, okay, well, I love music, I love the athlete stuff too, but you know, like
yeah,
there's a lot of people who a lot taller, a lot whatever.
yeah,
So
yeah.
shoot,
I was seeing
let
that
me
wasn't finna work out.
I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah,
I was kind of similar. I was like, I wanted to play basketball and do my thing. It was just like that music it just called me, you know?
yeah,
It
yeah.
just
You
called
can't
me.
run away from it.
So let's talk about your shift from Augusta and then moving to Atlanta. You know, like there's a lot of places we could do music. Like, why you
Right.
feel like Atlanta?
I just felt like that obviously was the closest hub to where the most motion was going on, but
Mm-hmm.
to me it was just like it like it wasn't like I had an option like, well, maybe I should go to New York. It was like, nah, like I'm going to Atlanta. Like
Yeah.
everything that I wanted to do was in Atlanta. Like I
Mm-hmm.
could, you know what I mean, all the artists that I was like really into,
Yeah.
like they were all, if not from Atlanta, they were in Atlanta, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it just was kind of like, you know, I felt it in my gut and was just like, you know, like this is where I need to be. Like,
Yeah.
and also, you know, being grateful that I had that upbringing, because there was a lot of like instrumental things that happened in Augusta that I feel like over prepared me to come to Atlanta. So
You can
like
touch on that.
yeah, it was just, you know, like when I got here, I came for college. Like that was,
Mhm.
you know, that was my that was my that was my ticket in the door. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying?
You
Because
want
the
you
mom
want to
was
shout
like,
out to college?
nah, I don't.
Okay.
But my mom, you know, was like, I'm graduating high school. She like, you going to school? So she just wasn't gonna let me like wander, you
Just
know, and
go to Atlanta and just go to the studio and whatever happens.
right, and go
I
live a
feel.
pipe dream, you know. So she was like, you know, school, and then I looked up the Art Institute and then Full Sail at the time, because I was telling her, I was like, I went to Johnson in Augusta or whatever. It was like an engineering school, but like I hated school.
I feel.
So yeah, I'm like, for college, and I'm already this deep into music, I was like, please don't send me to regular college, because I hate school. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like she was like, okay, if you find something that's like that, and then, you know, in Atlanta, then cool, you know, you can do that. So we found the Art Institute, you know. She got me some loans. I was able to get in, and I had a not a dorm, but like I had a roommate at first. It was in college housing or whatever.
Yeah.
And
I remember.
yeah, I was at Metro Point. They call it Westmar now, I think.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, so did that. Hold on, let me just make sure. What was the question again? So I don't want to go too far off that.
No, we're not going off of it. But
Okay.
But you said there were some things in Augusta that prepared you for being in Atlanta.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so yeah, like, all right, when I want to say I think I was in like, I had started high school already, and then I realized that Foxy was DJing at
The football games.
the
on
game
Friday.
of the week. The
Yeah.
game of the week.
Yeah.
So the thing was, it was like I had got my mom to give me like some cheaper CD players, you know what I'm saying, or like some DJ equipment, but they had CDJs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
Yeah. Mhm.
So it was like I gotta get. I'm hooked. Like I was a fiend. That was the dope. I needed to get to that. So I started going out there every week, and
True.
over time, Ron Thomas. It's just, I always got to salute Ron. He ended up giving me an opportunity to DJ on the station. Or at first it was commercial breaks, and then he gave me an opportunity to go live, and then that ended up with me having a show. But that, by having a show and having like mentors, because it was actually a lot of good DJs in Augusta, and I feel like when I came to Atlanta, not to say there weren't good DJs, but as far as technically skilled, like when it comes to hands, like, you know, like the sessions when I come over your crib with me and Carl, you know what I'm saying? Like even B-Dubs, Greg Nice, like we grew up, you know what I'm saying, hearing very skilled. Yeah, they was
really
very
great
skilled
DJs. Yes.
Yeah, so when I got up here, and then, you know, I was already cool with Scream, and then we just kind of furthered our relationship. He looked out for me and got me a gig. And then when I got to, you know, like the spots and just went to the clubs, I was like, damn, like the music is pretty similar. It's slightly different, but the, like, from what I used to like pride myself on when it come to like skills and like mixing, cutting, stuff like that, I just felt like I was over prepared. You know what I mean? Like I was coming into the class, and I had already read all the books.
Right.
You know, maybe into different places to where people hadn't read the books, or you know, gotten the techniques down. So I feel like that helped a lot in like me moving along quickly once I got up here, because I was well seasoned.
There's been some people say, well, what does the DJ do type thing? Because, but I think that kind of piggybacks on it, because a lot of people don't know that there are skills when it comes to DJing and sound, and how you cut the music, how you transition the music, how you read the room. So there's a lot that DJs do, you know what I'm saying? And I think that we do have to go back and put the respect on the DJ, because they putting the little Tubi movies on about the DJ. It's like, y'all not telling the story.
Not the whole story.
Not the whole story. So that's what I think this is important. You brought up Ron Thomas, you know what I'm saying? We get to, you know, salute people like him. You know, my father was in radio. He knew my father, and, you know, he gave me an opportunity too. So shout out to you, Ron. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. You gotta do that.
Yeah. So like, this is platforms where like the people who, you know, don't get mentioned, or we forgot to get mentioned, or, you know, like we move through the story. And then we can come back and but we're going to be doing these a little bit more. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
If you're interested, I want to get Spinz back on the show, because I know he's very exclusive. You don't talk to everybody.
Nah. I mean, man, with the home team, I'm always available. I don't like to venture out too much further than that, because it's a lot of, you know, stuff I'd rather not concern myself with.
Yeah. What would you say is your like favorite things that happened to you in the music industry, like your highlights?
Man, it's kind of hard to say that for me, because it's like I enjoy like every part of it, you know. And it's come with a lot of good. It's also come with some bad too, but I just learn to kind of like, you know, be appreciative of the journey, you know what I'm saying? And it's something that I can take from anything that happened in my life. So I try to stay just pretty much even keel. But yeah, I've definitely had like, you know, great times, great moments, you know what I'm saying? Countless moments, you know what I'm saying? And I look forward to just still continuing to make them, you know? It's just, you know, we just got to live life. And that's kind of how a lot of stuff happened. I feel like, I wanted to excel when I came up here, but it was more about just like indulging in my passion.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's kind of just led me to, you know, some, I guess you could say career highlights or whatever. But yeah, you know.
I just had K Major on the show. And he was like,
My
yeah,
boy.
shout out to people like Spinz, helped me get some of my first placements and was there for me when I didn't even, know what was going on.
Yeah.
And he was like, I saw Spinz in the club. He was like, yeah, I want to, he said he wanted a beat from you. Oh, he was like, yeah, you said 7,500. Talk to my lawyer. I was like, okay, Spinz had it down pat from the beginning.
Yeah, I think I was an autopilot back then, but you know, like I said, my friends can get anything from me, so
yeah.
you know, it ain't and like that. That's how I like to treat it, you know, because for me, it's I can say that I've never got a hit from just sending a beat. You know what I'm saying? It's always come from a relationship. You know what I'm saying? A relationship of me building with a person or artist or whatever and just kicking it. Because, you know, we create and stuff like that's our art. You know what I'm saying? That's a piece of us. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like I know some people treat it very transactional. You know what I mean? I'm not really that type of person. Like I just want to create with my friends, you know what I'm saying, and just make good stuff, great stuff.
Right. I have noticed, like, if you just do music, if everybody just do music with their friends and just make great stuff, like the people that's in your reach, like you can come up with some really magical stuff.
Yeah, and you know, that's not to say that you can't meet new friends along the way either, you know. So like, you know, somebody you might not know now might become your friend in 2 or 3 years, you know, after you actually built the relationship and you know, built rapport with them. So I'm always open to, you know, I'm never closed off, but I'm just, you know, the industry sometimes will just be like, well, yeah, such and such is working. Such and such is working. And I'm like, I don't know them people.
Yeah, I feel you.
So, you know, it's cool, but I don't know.
Cause I'm like, you know, and I don't know if I got this from you, but definitely like I've been around you, so and I know that this is something you do. It's just like you follow that gut, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Follow the energy, you know, just like if you ain't feeling it, it ain't gonna get felt.
Yeah, I'm out of there.
yeah.
Out of there.
So just trusting it. And then earlier you was talking about, you know, it's the good come with it, some bad come with it too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So do you want to touch on any adversities you bounced back from in your music journey?
Yeah, man. I tell everybody, like, life is gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, to me, about your approach in life. Like, it don't matter if you got $1, it don't matter if you got $1 billion. Like, life is gonna present you with problems constantly. It's just, what's your mindset? Are you a problem solver? Are you a excuse maker? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I try to just fix my mindset to where, you know, I'm a problem solver, or I'm working to solve a problem. Like, if it's something that, you know, confronts me, it's like, okay, I might not get it on the first try, but I'm gonna work to solve the problem. You know what I mean? And I just tell people that all the time, because, you know, on the outside looking in, people could just look at your highlight reel and feel like, oh, okay, it's sweet, everything, you know. And then, you know, on the surface, Instagram, social media, most people are only gonna post their highlights. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's just, I would like to tell everybody, I feel like it's a mindset that you go through life with. Just be a problem solver, work to be a problem solver, and then it won't be no problem. You know, it won't be no problem that you can't overcome.
Right.
And you know, like, I think the problems kind of like build character. You know what I'm saying? It's just like a rich person who never had to work for anything usually tends to not have as much character as somebody who worked for everything they got. You know, so, you know, I love that part of it too. Like, you know what I'm saying? I put some bricks together to get here. Like, it wasn't just I was born with a silver spoon. Like, you know what I mean? We got to put some work in.
Yeah. Now, you definitely been putting the work in, man. And like you said, we have to learn from the things that it ain't always sweet. It ain't always the best. You know, like, you could have the #1 song, but then now you got a traffic of people who good and a traffic of people who bad, you know, because you
Yeah,
have more
and
visibility.
that and also like let's just say you can get a number one song, and then the same day you get the number one song, your dog died.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it be stuff
Yeah.
like that. You know what I mean? People be thinking in the you know, just the professional realm, but it's like shit. Everybody got to live life. You know what I mean? Everybody got family.
Yeah.
You got all kind of stuff. And like I said, life is gonna life, man. From what I've been saying, you know, it's just about, you know, how you graze through, you know what I'm saying, and how you deal with it.
Got it. So you got a couple of companies, Tune Freak, Cashmere Collective. Right. Talk about the formation of these companies and what's coming up.
Okay, yeah, so Tune Freak Recordings, that's my independent label. Probably been working on it maybe close to 10 years now, and you've been a very instrumental part of Tune Freak, of just helping me build it. So I'm very grateful for that. But it's kind of like a space where I release like my art, as far as like my artist work, my friends' artist work, you know what I'm saying? So anything that I'm kind of behind when it comes to urban music, I've been releasing it under Tune Freak Recording. So that's an ongoing process. Very, very grateful for that, and just to have that outlet that I built, and you know, just to share my art with people. Just because I feel like more people, and you know, rightfully so, were in tune with just my journey as a producer. So as I branched out into, you know, my artistry, I feel like I had to create a space for it, you know, and I'm still doing that, and very happy with, you know, the growth in it.
I gotta get me some more TF hoodies, man. We gotta show up again with the TFs.
Yeah, man. More vibe outs, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Working on that too. Definitely working on that. So Cashmere Collective is another piece, which I'm very, very passionate in, and building that for maybe like 6 years, which again, you know what I'm saying, you played an amazing role in. So was on the first EP, you know what I'm saying? We released, like you said, 3 records this year. So Cashmere Collective to me though is a community service project, and it's to me, I just my ultimate goal is to be a place where creatives can create, you know what I mean, and share their art with the world, whether it's, you know, music, it's drawing, it's sketching, you know what I'm saying, whether it's planning events or anything, you know what I'm saying, whatever your art may be. I feel like you're a part of the collective, you know.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's it's been going good. I feel like we're entering phase 2 right now. We built the foundation, music and like instrumental wise, which is, you know, that's gonna continue nonstop. But now we're setting up events, you know what I mean, to start to, you know, get in the community and just, you know, collab with different movements and different people that we see spreading, you know what I'm saying, the light. So that's basically in a nutshell what Cashmere is.
I'm gonna be up in there, man. It's smooth, it's fresh, you know, and it's a balance. It's like you need the Tune Freak urban situation, you know.
Right.
Like racks, you know.
For sure.
But you also, you know, like you kicking it over here, you got the, you know, the lo-fi and you know, you feel, you know, it feels luxurious. It feels like it got a good little thing to it.
Yeah, you can water your plants, you know what I'm saying? Get you some work done, you know what I'm saying? Meditate.
Yeah, it's almost, you know, like, you know, and I know that this ain't what we had in mind, but you know, Lil Jon went from the crunk era. Now he's like, you know, like let's zen it out. You know, like let's get this focal balance.
You know, it's crazy because so many people hit me about Andre first. You know what I'm saying? Because they seen I've been doing the instrumental thing for like 5 years now, 4 or 5 years, and it's like, yeah, you see Andre's come out with a Flute album. I'm like, yeah, that's dope. Like, I'm glad that these bigger figures are showing, you know, that you can, grow, and you can do other things. So, because the industry likes to, try to categorize and put people in boxes, but we're living beings, man. We go through phases, we go through seasons. So I'm just all about the expression of that. So I love, and I actually, Lil Jon is one of my favorite producers of all time. Part of the reason I do music. So he was a heavy influence in my childhood, even though I never really got to, just meet him like that. But just from afar looking in and seeing, his impact. And to me, I feel like he's been successful in like 5 genres, like at least. And even created, I think he even created like 2 genres, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
blessed, like, man, for sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So very, very, very influential. I always want to give him his flowers.
For sure. Now, how important is like keeping positivity, in your mix and all of that, and your energy as far as creating? Like, how important is that to you?
It's very important, man. Like, it's, like I said, life is full of different experiences. So to me, part of my problem solving algorithm has been to, stay positively charged. And there's so much that can bring you down just from social media to, your peers, to the news, to whatever's going on in the world. That's, why I like to have an escape. Like, I have to meditate. I have to have Cashmere Collective in my life to kind of, balance me out. Like, I might go off too far to the left, and then it's like, okay, I can come back and get my zen right here with Cashmere. You know what I mean? It's like I come back to that to continue to reset. That's been like the reset frequency for me. And I feel like that's important for all human beings. So that's why, I wanted to share that art with people, because I'm like, it helps me. So hopefully it can help somebody else.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's cutting through, or do you feel like sometimes people just feel like DJ Spinz is just listening to all trap beats all day, like only making trap beats? Or like...
Well, from the way I see it now, like, in the beginning, I'm sure like when they saw me post like the first instrumental album or whatever, they like, okay. Then they see me post another instrumental album, they're like, okay. Another one. It's like, oh, maybe I should listen this time. You know what I mean? And so I've seen, the transition. You know what I mean, from where I started at the beginning of this journey to now, and I definitely could say that I'm very pleased with the amount of people that I've been able to affect, and I hope that I can affect a lot more.
Yeah. No, you've been all over the country, really all over the world, Japan, Singapore, like just to name a few. But I'm thinking like, well, how has that travel, impacted, your way of thinking as well?
Man, travel is amazing. Just to me, for the simple fact of the perspective that you gain every time you travel. So I tell people all the time, like, especially when I run into somebody who might be complaining about a situation, which I recently had to talk about, and I'm just like, man, I know, from being, of faith, I'm sure you heard the term a lot of times, you don't know how blessed you are. But I really like to reiterate that to people, because in my travels, I've seen a lot of, cool things, but I've also seen, people living in conditions that I couldn't imagine. You know what I'm saying? So I realized that we live in America, and America is what it is. But from my travels and my 10s and 20s of countries that I've seen, we are very, very blessed. And then not even in the sense of you're driving a Benz or a Bentley or a Rolls Royce or anything like that. If you could be out here in a 1-bedroom apartment, you have AC, you have, like your mother said, a roof over your head, you have a bathroom. Like, I don't think people understand that people don't have that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
electricity and light.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can go to the grocery store. You don't have to kill your food.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like for me, you know, the traveling just opened my brain up to see like, hey man, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a lot of stuff out here, and like, you know, a lot of the shit, you know, people act like brats about, or excuse me, I don't know if I can curse, but
Yeah,
the
you
stuff
can.
the stuff that people act like brats about, like, man, like you're extremely blessed, man. It could be
Right.
worse.
Definitely.
It could be worse. That, yeah.
Definitely. Well, Spence, you know, I ain't ready for you to go yet. You know what I'm saying? But I've
Oh yeah,
enjoyed,
I appreciate it.
I've enjoyed the conversation. And I gotta make sure that I invite you back. That we continue this going on. This is floor 62.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So welcome to the building. You know, like
Yes, sir.
this is where
Yes,
this is where
sir.
we're gonna be at. So we're gonna turn up Tune Freak. We're gonna turn up Cashmere Collector. We're gonna turn up DJ
Love.
Spinz, man. What do you want to leave the
Thank you.
people with?
Hey man, I just want to leave them with peace, man. Thank you for having me. You know what I'm saying? Just want to send love and peace, man.
Okay, well y'all heard it, man. Look, from Augusta, Georgia, is my brother from another mother, man. Shout out
You know
to
what
your
I'm saying?
mom. Shout out to my
Shout out to
mom.
Mama
Whatever.
Soul. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Good, all good.
Very grateful.
Thank you, Spins, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, man.
All right, peace. Okay, wake up, wake up, wake up. It's the J.Soul Morning Show. And again, we have another guest. And it's only because we have really special people who come on the J.Soul Morning Show. You know, it's invitation only. Everybody can't show up. But and you hear her in the background. And, you know, she's a wonderful musician. And she's been in Augusta for, you know, for some time, making really a way for a lot of independent artists, whether it's putting them on stage, whether she's on stage. She's doing a whole lot, from newspapers to everything. And you'll see what I'm talking about. We'll get into it. I'd like to introduce you guys to and present to others, Kay Gordon. Welcome to the J.Soul Morning Show.
Thank you so very much. Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here with you. Thanks for the invitation.
Hey, you know what? I don't see how I couldn't have Kay Gordon on the show. You know, it's just like how could I not?
I
But
appreciate it. I'm grateful.
tell the listeners, you know, 2 or 3 things, you know, some highlights about yourself, and then why you do what you do.
Okay. Well, let's see. I am a musician
Hmm.
by trade. That's my main thing. That has been my main thing for quite some time. I started the company Garden City Jazz back in 2003 to support jazz music in the local community, to make it more family friendly, to support the artists who were playing this music,
Hmm.
and to introduce it to new audiences. So I started doing that. I was in a band called Quiet Storm, and then I kind of branched
Okay.
off into doing Garden City Jazz full time. So that actually came to a screeching halt during the pandemic.
Got it.
But
2020.
yeah, yeah. And so we're still support music and musicians. I do still program the jazz and blues stage at the Arts in the Heart of Augusta Festival.
Hmm.
But the music has kind of taken a back seat to some of the other work that I'm doing. So
Okay.
in 2009, I began to become interested in. I lived in Aiken at the time, but I was really
Okay.
interested in Augusta. I grew up in Augusta. I'm very committed to the Augusta community.
Hmm.
So I began to shift my focus to downtown Augusta. What's going on downtown? Why does it still look the way that it does?
Okay.
Has for a million, 100,000 bazillion years.
Okay.
And
And we're
so,
talking about Augusta for the listeners who
yes,
just
that's
joining us.
Augusta, Georgia. And so, in the process of gathering some information, just being
Mhm.
curious, I asked a whole lot of questions.
Got you.
Anybody who would listen to the questions and answer it or not. But I met a lot of people in the process of doing that. I began to understand a little bit about local government as well,
Okay.
some of the good, the bad, and the ugly about it. And but during that time, I was really interested in community, and I used my um, skills,
Okay.
right,
Okay.
my charm,
Okay.
that to and of course my popularity as a musician
Hmm.
opened a lot of doors for me to be able to talk to people. So people kind of knew
Okay.
who I was, and so when I asked questions about why is this thing still broken,
Hmm.
they were a little bit more willing to answer those things, even if they didn't know.
Right.
They would redirect. So I started really getting involved in community service then, from a um, policy, from a development, all that perspective.
Hmm.
And you said 2 or 3 things. Child, I could be doing this for 45 minutes. So
No, that's fine. That's
I'm gonna wrap
fine.
it on up real quick. So um, I asked a lot of questions during that time.
Okay.
And in 2014, I was accepted into the Leadership Augusta class. And going through that, this is not necessarily a commercial for that program,
Got it.
but it's a great professional development program.
Right.
I learned a lot about how the city works and how it should work.
Okay.
Then, I became interested in it. Then in 2016, I moved back to South Augusta.
Okay.
And yeah, there's a lot going on here too. There's a lot that's not happening as well. But I began to ask more questions. Why does South Augusta look the way that it does? Why are the streets broken? Why are things falling apart?
And this is you're asking your commissioner, or you're asking
I'm asking
some commissioners.
Yeah,
or,
I'm asking. Definitely the commissioner.
uh,
I met the commissioner for my district for the house that we moved in. When I was going through that Leadership Augusta class, I met him there. He invited me to come to his community meetings. So I started driving from Aiken to South Augusta. So it's about an hour drive. Just, it seems like it's it was a nice little ride, just so I could get more information about what's happening in community. So I reconnected with another friend there who was involved in agriculture, and she was working on a project. She asked me to help her with a project. I said, sure, let's do it.
Okay.
And it led to the work that we're doing now in agriculture, supporting Black farmers in the community, which also, going back to the pandemic of 2020, with the political climate then, a local newspaper, a Black newspaper, the publisher was going to stop. And he wanted to get out of the business. And so he asked me if I would help with that. And I said, sure, why not?
Okay.
The interesting thing about all of this is it involved lots of questions, lots of conversations, lots of emails. There were things I was interested in that I didn't know anything about, but I made a decision to learn about it. And, I've fallen down the steps a lot of times and made a whole lot of mistakes, but that's how we got to where we are today, doing this work in the community and figuring things out and helping people.
That's so awesome, because you gave me so many things that we want to touch on because there's a lot of people who aren't in the inquiry of the Augusta Commission, or if you're not in Augusta, the commission of how your city runs, what's on the agenda, what's being voted on, what power does your mayor have, and what power does your mayor not have? And there's a lot of people who, like you said, they're not in that inquiry. So we could talk about that, the importance of knowing who your
your local elected officials are. Definitely.
Who's in the commission? First start with your district. What district are you in?
Right. Exactly.
And who's assigned to your district, and what are they voting? How do they vote?
Exactly. What are their priorities? Right. So I'll say this too. Like, I lived in Aiken for about 10 or 15 years, I think. I lived in the city of Aiken for about 10 or 15 years, and did not, almost embarrassed to say that I didn't care about what was going on in that country. I wasn't involved. I was like, no, Augusta is my home. My mama over there. So, and my people over there too. So I need to be more engaged, or at least more knowledgeable about what's happening. Because it's easy to point a finger and say that my commission or my city council or my mayor don't do anything, when the only information source that you have is what you hear on social media or what you see on the news. If you just if your information sources are limited, then you're getting a limited picture of what's going on.
People just follow the bandwagon. It's like, oh, the commissioner's not doing nothing. Oh, the mayor's not doing it. Just like, what have they done?
The stuff that makes it to the news, you got to understand too about media is if it bleeds, it leads. So would you rather see on television a calm, cool, collected meeting, or do you want to be out here getting busy or, getting talk crap? That's a lot more entertaining. And you get on the phone and be like, girl, did you see that thing? What?
Exactly.
Yeah.
People want to be entertained, man.
Yeah. Are you not entertained? But the thing that's really wonderful about really being, because you do have to be intentional, right?
Okay.
You have to be intentional. You have to be persistent as well. So when I say that I'm asking questions, I ask you got to ask some same questions a lot of times. Sometimes you might get different answers. A lot of times you call folks, they may not respond. They may not be responsive, but you keep going. I tell my youngest baby, Scooter, that when he wants something, he gonna ask me until he gets it. So if I want something for me, or if I want something for my community, and I pick up the phone and I call you, J.Soul, I call you one time, and then you don't hear from me no more, it ain't that important. It's not that important. It's gotta be. It's gotta be important.
The squeaky wheel gets the oil.
It does.
Yeah.
Every single time, and people gonna tell you something, even if it's wrong. But you gonna answer my question. You know, even if you don't know the answer, that's fine. Point me take me to somebody who can answer the question for me. And more importantly, so I also am aware that of the way that I come across when I'm talking about my interactions with elected officials and that kind of thing. It's because I have a relationship with them. It's because I've been intentional about building a relationship. Because if you want to, you can get more, what is it? Flies with honey. Than vinegar. Yeah. So I'm not going to, if I want some information or there's something that I want to have done, I'm not going to be a butthole about it and say, hey, you know, this has been going on for such and such a long time.
Yeah.
I don't start there. You may eventually have to get to that place. But I consider many of the city employees and elected officials like family, right? I don't really have a familial relationship with all of them. Mm-hmm. But the reason I have that stance is because I've taken the time to reach out to them. If I have a question, like for real, like what's going on over there? Like what's happening? Why can't y'all fix the street?
I do want to get more of us watching the meetings that come on YouTube and just talking about what we thought was on the agenda, because I don't think that we're not there's really no outlet for us to say, you know what, this is what they were talking about, and hey, and then they got this plan and they released this PDF, like a lot of times it's just over there and nobody's looking at it. And then you just driving down the road, you're like, oh, when they put this over here, like
the whole thing happened.
It was on the website.
It's been up there. Government moves so slow, most times moves so slowly that by the time something happens, it was something that was mandated or approved a year, 2 years, however long ago. Nothing happens quickly in government.
Right.
Unless, unless there's money involved. But and the example of that, because I don't want that to be misconstrued, is the Augusta National. Several years ago, the Augusta National wanted to move a street, right? So they could enlarge their territories, something or other. And in order for them to build a street or to reroute a road, they had to deal with government. Mm-hmm. So they had to get on the list to get this particular work done. Right. So, because, budgets, local sales tax, all that kind of stuff. And then they got to get in the queue because y'all not special. Right. What they did, the reason I mentioned money is because if I got enough money to do the street myself, I'll go ahead and do it. And that's exactly what they did. They went ahead and rerouted this road, Berkman's Road. Mm-hmm. And then they said, I'll get my money back from the city when you have it. So coins can make things happen for sure, good and bad. But
I mean, at the same time, if that was a black organization, even with the money, no matter how much money you got, you ain't building no road just so you ain't rerouting nothing in the city just because you got money.
If you got enough. Telling you. And they got it. I'm telling you, they got enough.
They say, look, we'll buy the whole thing. So,
I'm telling you.
Why y'all getting it together and trying to figure it out? We got it.
Exactly.
Look, we got construction companies. We got this and everything.
Let me tell you, we trying to get Wrightsboro Road fixed. It is a hot mess. Meanwhile, and I understand. So
So which part of Riceboro Road? Where you at on Riceboro Road? That's a long road.
Let me tell you. Okay, so I'm not over. I'm deep in South Augusta. But whenever I'm on that road, I'm like, come on, people, we got to figure it out. So I'll give you just a brief example between North Leg and
Okay.
the road.
North Leg and Damascus Road.
It's
You about to make me break my chair.
Wrightsboro Road between North Leg and Damascus. I don't even know what district that's in. It may be in two, but and here's the thing. Oh, I gotta say this too.
Okay.
Because this could be the problem. So I just a little while ago, because I was complaining about the fact that Deansbridge Road was not fixed, because I was riding on that road, getting nails in my tire, all kinds of craziness. So I was like, who's in charge of Deansbridge Road? I want to talk to.
They need you in LA because none of the roads are even decent. Zero.
I said, who's in charge of that road? And I learned who it was at a community meeting.
Okay.
And the guy the commissioner then Sammy Sias, District 4, was hosting this meeting once a month, and he had I called him, I said, man, what's going on with this? And he said, that's a state road. He said, we don't have nothing to do with that. We can't do nothing with that road. I mean, we're not in charge of that. He said, but I'll get the guy, the GDOT, Georgia Department of Transportation guy, to come and talk about what's going on. What's the construction plan? When is it going to be finished? And all of that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that very well may be the case with Wrightsboro. Several years ago, about 10 years ago, there was some conversation during the whole downtown Augusta conversation about upgrading the streets and the sewage and the infrastructure.
Right. That
was supposed to happen actually 15 years ago, because Scooter was a baby then. It's just happening now. It is, and Broad Street is a state road. It is we're just getting to the place.
You said Broad Street is a state
road. Broad Street. 15 years later, the work that they were talking about in 2009, 2010 is just being started right now.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
But also think about like the Augusta Mini Theater. It just took them 15 years to raise $1 million.
Right.
You see it?
Yeah. And our businesses and our organizations are historically undercapitalized. That's just a fact. And in addition to that, politics plays a role in all of it. Mm-hmm. So I do believe that the Mini Theater is moving forward with building their next phase.
They are
now, but I know it took it took a minute.
Yeah.
To get to that place. Yeah. And I believe part of it is because I think it goes back to relationships. Mm-hmm. But then that also goes back to being familiar with the landscape, like knowing who's in the room or who's in the space. Like, this is something I kind of was thinking. I don't know this to be true or not.
Okay.
But I felt this during the last election cycle, and that is, our folks are, like I said, historically undercapitalized. We and not because we can't make the money, but because white folks be breaking stuff.
You said they break stuff.
They be breaking stuff. They be tearing things up, setting stuff on fire. I'm trying not to cuss and say shit. But
no, you can't say whatever you want.
Setting things on fire and burning down, right. that kind of thing. So that redlining, all those things, definitely happen. And so I was having a conversation with someone. I was like, coming into the election cycle, we are sometimes it feels like we as a people are thinking very short-sightedly.
Mm.
Whereas we are planning, when it comes to politics and elections, we're planning for the next year or two, right? Or 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
We're planning for that short period of time. And then we go back to our lives, right? Be up here,
No more. It's not election season anymore. Business as
it's not
usual.
election season anymore. I can relax. I can go back to doing whatever it is I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the other folks. They are constantly. It is always election season.
Right.
It is that, and that's one thing I would love for our folks to be aware of. It is always.
Everything's about voting. Everything's about what are we agreeing on.
Mm-hmm. It's about making. It's about voting. It's about being engaged and being involved, being visible.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a difference between you. There's a big difference between you knowing who your politician is, right? Who is your elected official? Who's your commissioner? Who's your mayor? A game changer, what's even more powerful than that is if those people know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I need to know who the mayor is. Mayor know who I am. I send him a text or whatever. He may not get back with me immediately, but I know he got it. Right. And I know those kinds of things. Not just with elected officials, people who are in leadership, your chamber people, chamber of commerce folks, your folks who work in economic development. Just depends on the people who, if you're an artist, the people who run the Arts Council or the Humanities Council, those kinds of things. Coming up to 22 election, so I have 4 kids. My oldest is 33. 33, I think he is. And then the next oldest, I got two 33s. My bonus baby is 33. My son is 33. My middle son is 32. My 32-year-old told me that he was probably not going to vote. He said, "Don't make a difference. It ain't going to change nothing."
Mm-hmm.
And I was pissed
I feel
to hear him say that.
Yeah.
And so we talked about it. He was very strong. He was very secure in his stance. And so I ended up just saying, listen, if you don't want to vote, then don't. You don't have to vote. I said, but you better do something. You got to show up in some kind of way. And this was before. Now he's a father. Grandparents' Day was yesterday.
Grandparents' Day. Happy belated Grandparents' Day to you.
I got 2.
That's awesome.
2 grandbabies. But I said, you got to do something. At the time he didn't have any kids. Now he's got a son. Mm-hmm. So you just got to show up for yourself and for your community in whatever way makes sense. Yeah. But start to kind of see what's important to you.
A friend of mine told me the same thing. It was like, oh, well, because at first it was like, I'm voting for Trump. This is wild. This is like beginning of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now all this stuff about Trump and then Kamala has come out. Madam Vice President Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Want to get her title right. I know she black. We don't want to be so familiar, though. Kamala.
Right, that's my girl.
Right. But Madam Vice President, since she wants to be the president now and all of it, and everybody's rallying behind her. My friend, I went back to him. I said, "You still voting for Trump?" And he was like, "No, I'm not voting at all now, man. Same situation." And I was just like, I was there before. Especially when it was Trump against Hillary. And then they came out about the stuff about Hillary, just like, oh, no. So it just gave me a whole thing where, like, I don't want to. And I think the media wants us to be in that, Don't think about voting. Don't worry about voting. Because if people aren't thinking about voting, now what? we can just go build a road and because we got enough money, you know.
That's,
So
you're absolutely right about that.
so you know, I asked them about that, and I was like, listen, what we can do, we still have to vote for who we think the best candidate is. Stay involved, stay informed, but don't just say you're not voting.
Right.
Because you can give them the liberty to say, well, people aren't voting anyway, so why are we setting up these polls and why are we doing all that?
Yeah.
Let's just get rid of all that. Let's just, you know.
Just get it all up. Yeah. If you don't, it's just like if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So
yeah. It's mandate. It's you know it's old school. It's obsolete anyway. Let's just
right. Yeah, because
just govern ourselves.
Like, especially when it's the thing that when you feel like, I understand when you feel like your voice or your vote doesn't count.
Yeah.
And to be very honest, in some cases it does not. To be perfectly honest, in some cases you can stand up there and rah rah sis boom bye and press that button and get the hanging chads and all of that, and it's not going to matter. And that's another story for somebody who's smarter than me with this whole electoral college thing. But that is where it's in that situation where your local and regional elections are so important. Even like in smaller cities, some of those, actually not even in smaller cities, and right here, some of these elections, these city council, commission, whatever elections, the winner is by a difference of dozens or 100 people.
Right.
So if 100 folks would have shown up, then your outcome would have been totally different. So I'm really big on involvement with local folks. I know who my representative is, my state representative. Statewide stuff I'm not as involved in, but I'm getting there because I am getting more involved with the Black Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
So I'm and they do a great job of the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce and the regional chambers throughout Georgia. They do a great job of interfacing with state and federal elected officials to make sure that this community is top of mind for them.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's good.
I pick up my phone and call Congressman Allen, but if the president of the Black Chamber and also our president of our local Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce is also the president of the Georgia, I'm gonna mess up the name. Georgia Coalition of Black Chambers. So she's a president of both those, Ronique West. So having a voice is really important, and they'll help you too. If you've got an issue you want to have addressed, first join the chamber, really affordable, and then they will assist you with whatever your needs may be, whether it's personal for your own home or whether it's for your business. They do all sorts of business training as well. So, and here's and part of the reason why it was important for me to do this newspaper work, even though I don't know nothing about running a newspaper, is that information is power. Data is so powerful.
Okay, so let's introduce the newspaper a little bit, because you did say that was one of the main things you wanted to publicize and talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, give me some information about the newspaper.
All right, I certainly will. So I am the publisher of Urban Pro Weekly.
Okay.
It was started in 2011 by Fred Benjamin as a print publication. So I acquired the paper in 2021.
Okay.
Beginning of 2021, and have been utilizing that as a vehicle to tell our stories. I'm a musician and a part-time farmer agriculturalist, but I want to make sure that creatives have an outlet and a voice as well. So that was one of my primary reasons for buying the paper.
Mhm.
Also, from a business, entrepreneurship, community perspective, just and really kind of in response to all of the activity and all the different narratives that the media was spinning in 2020. There was just so much out there. It was, of course, the election, January 6th, it was a whole bunch of bullshit going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to make sure that the newspaper continued to do what it was meant to do, and that was to amplify our voices in the community.
Good.
Yeah.
Tell them how they can get to the newspaper.
So you can get to UPW at the website is urbanproweekly.org. And I'm very excited that we're talking today because right now we're transitioning from print and a little bit of digital to 100% digital. And I tell you, it's challenging, but it's a great and necessary challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I met with some advisors and some consultants this morning and began to just lay out exactly what it will look like. And I'm excited about that because it is shaping into a lot more than I could have ever imagined. You know, I dabble around with social media and that kind of thing, but I understand that media is where it's at. Social is usually the first news source for a lot of people.
Right.
Social media. I mean, honestly, if I am honest, when I get up in the morning, I go to Facebook is my jam. I go to the Facebook and I see what's happened. I check my messages. I check my email. I just kind of scroll. But of course, the algorithm does what the algorithm does. So it's really important to have some kind of direct engagement. And that's what we're moving toward, is focusing really, really heavily on content creation.
Right. Now can you see the website? I put it on the screen. I don't know if you can see my screen.
I can see it, yes.
So this is the site. And right now you say you're doing some print and you're doing some digital and you're getting ready to go 100% digital.
We're getting ready to go 100% digital. So right, that is really just, it's a landing page. It's got a link to the site where the PDFs, the issues live. Going into, and that's a responsive landing page. Once we move to the next platform, it'll be a lot more robust in nature.
Gotcha.
And it will be what I see happening with it is that it becomes a living thing, which sounds weird to say. Sounds weird to say.
No, I understand.
But that it does.
462 had to become a living thing.
Yes. I love what you're doing with the platform. I've been watching you, I've been stalking you, seeing what you're doing over here in these streets.
Good.
But yeah, I love the fact, and I love the fact too that you're building that Floor 62 is a community. It is a living, breathing organism as it stands right now. So right. I dig it.
You know, what I like about what I'm doing is I get to put people on my team and I get to be a part of other people's team, you know? So with you being the top of the triangle over here at UPW, you know, I would love to see how I could maybe get some interviews in Augusta for it or get some content for it and help publicize it, help be a marketing arm for UPW.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Because
Okay.
we need I know you have your own networks, your really wide, broad networks. You're everywhere and then everywhere again. So
Okay.
I think like this is I can share this. This is so UPW is it's a local newspaper. It started that it was all about Augusta.
Yeah.
And the for the past year or so, I've just been thinking about what's going to happen next. What are we doing next? And so the name Urban Pro Weekly, my thought was, well, let's really just focus on urban professionals.
Okay.
Young urban professionals, really. And so, because right now, folks who are reading the print, the paper, they're older folks. They're folks
Right.
older. So, but I get all my news. I do check which is why my phone battery was dead early because I was consuming content, getting so much great information, and I love that you are from here. Yeah. You're from Augusta. This is what I was telling to my consultants earlier. Ideally, I want UPW to be able to touch people far and wide.
Right.
I want to have the base, the nucleus here. But we've got folks who are from here, who went to Butler High School, the best in all of Augusta, Georgia, and who are out doing magical things across the universe, right? Out where you are and on the West Coast, folks who are traveling and doing things and making music, making art, running businesses overseas. I'd like to at least start with a local, to use Augusta, the CSRA, as the base, right, as the hub, so to speak. But then talk to folks like Jamal Moore and this young lady who played a concert at Aiken over the weekends. Got this concert truck. She graduated from Davidson.
Oh wow!
I didn't meet her, but I was like, our folks are, our people are everywhere.
Yeah.
And, doing magical, mystical things. So, and I think too, when younger folks see this level of Black excellence, so to speak, excellence in general, but especially Black.
Okay.
They know that, hey, I can do that too. And one of the things that I started doing with the paper was featuring folks on the cover. I was like, I like the young lady who was on that last image that you showed on the cover of the of that document. She's a teacher. She had an opportunity to go up in a plane. That's one of the images, beautiful. But I want to see people who look like me, who are making real, measurable magic and change in this community. Right. I need to, and the people who need to see that, they're not going to pick up a newspaper.
I got it.
And they're going to do it. So we got to go. We got to go where they at.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. But that's what this platform is about. And that's what your platform is about. So I'm looking forward to
we gotta go. We gotta take them to floor 62.
Right. Sometimes the railroad ain't underground. It's above the ground, way above.
Way above ground.
Way above. Way over their heads.